Chapter 3090. Mu Xingqian stepped out of the spirit tool cabin and took a deep breath before exhaling again. He then rushed toward the camp with large strides. The Dou brothers looked at each other in dismay, then at each other. F***CK, what kind of drama was this? Her eldest brother had already left? Then there really was no need for them, outsiders, to continue staying here, right? Yet they were just going to abandon the half-dead Mu Roxuan here? They couldn't really do it. Dou Fenghua glanced at her eldest brother, Dou Fengmian, with a headache. I'll go to the camp to find young Master Mu. Miss Mu's matter must be resolved. Could it be that they were really going to abandon this Miss Mu? After Qi Xianxian exited the spirit tool cabin, she was angered to tears by her emotions. She fiercely wiped her tears and walked toward the camp with an indignant expression. As her eldest brother, Mu Xingqian didn't dote on his sister, but she did. Xianxian, you're back. Come quickly, I left some food for you. I'm not eating anymore. She was already full from anger, so how could she still eat? Qi Xianxian glanced at them dispiritedly before returning to her own tent. With a swoosh, she pulled down the curtain. Everyone looked at each other in dismay and stared at each other. She couldn't have been bullied by Mu Roxuan again, right? Mo Lian asked with a frown. I told you not to go. Duan Yu also grumbled. Something must have happened since she came back with a belly full of anger. Sir Jojo silently picked up a small plate and strode toward the tent with his short legs. I'll go check on her. Xian. The little fellow poked her head in from outside the curtain and peeked at Qi Xianxian, who was silently leaning against the cushion. Qi Xianxian glanced sideways at the small figure that sneaked in from outside the curtain. She was both amused and annoyed, so she simply turned her head away and ignored her. I left several pieces of red braised meat for you. Eat them. The little fellow sat cross-legged next to her and nudged her waist. It's quite delicious. Little Fatty's culinary skills have improved greatly. Qi Xianxian snorted and raised her hand to the back of her head. She saw that the ceiling was still ignoring her. Jojo put down the plate in his hand and subconsciously tapped his fingers together. Tell me, what's the matter? Qi Xianxian got up from the cushion and poked her head. That Mu Roxuan, she's already treated you like this. Why are you still concerned about that Mu Xingqian? Do you want to suffer? If I had known that she would scold you like that, would I have treated her? I'd rather stab her a few more times. Who the hell was she? Do you still think that you're omnipotent and that you're dead? When I went over, she pointed at my nose and scolded me, saying that I was your accomplice. She even said that I was sent by you to harm her. There must be something wrong with her brain. What a fool. The little guy nodded his little head like a chick pecking at rice. He blinked and said, Then we won't go to her place in the future. I know you don't want to make things difficult for Mu Xingqian. But look at him. Is there a big brother like him? Instead of protecting his sister properly, he keeps letting her get scolded. What's the matter with him? You don't owe him anything. He's just an honest and considerate person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been deceived by his bull-shastrisk father for so many years and even thought that his father was a righteous and good person. I don't think he's honest and considerate. There's something wrong with his brain. Qi Xianxian scolded in annoyance. Chapter 3091. If he dares to bully you like this again, I'm telling you, I'm not done with him. Qi Xianxian slapped the cushion and said angrily, I can't beat him, so I'll find Fatty and the others to beat him up together. Alright. Abba climbed onto her cushion and hugged her arm, swinging it back and forth. Why are you still angry with him? I can't stand it when he treats you like that. Qi Xianxian became angrier as she spoke. Abba took out a meat bun and stuffed it into her mouth. Try this. I especially saved it for you. It's delicious. Qi Xianxian naturally couldn't continue scolding with the bun stuffed in her mouth. She chewed hard and reached out to take the bun. As she ate, she mumbled, I don't know what's wrong with that Mu Roxuan. Does she think everyone has the leisure to harm her? How much money does she think she has? If I harm her, will I be able to get money or something? The little stoic nodded her small head repeatedly. Our Xian Xian can crush her with money. Isn't that so? Younger sister, Miss Qi, are you inside? Mu Xingchen's voice came from outside the tent. Qi Xian felt irritated whenever she heard his voice now. She rolled her eyes and said, "What do you want?" Miss Qi, Rochuan was in the wrong for making you angry just now. I apologize to her and you. Qi Xian muttered softly to Arbor, "Who wants it?" Miss Qi, Mu Xingchen called out again. Qi Xian rolled her eyes and snorted coldly. Mu Xingchen, if you really treat Qiao Qiao as your sister, then you should cut off all ties with those brain-dead people as soon as possible. Don't get involved with them so many times that it's unclear. You don't take our Jojo seriously when you have nothing to do, and you don't treat carrots as vegetables. You look for our Jojo to resolve any trouble you encounter. What do you take our Jojo for? A substitute? None of you Mu family members are good. I'm telling you, if your Mu family doesn't want her, then it's fine. Stay far away from her and scram. Don't freaking say she's unnecessary. She has us. We all need her. If she's superfluous, then everyone in your Mu family is superfluous. Mu Xingchen knew that Qi Xian was currently in a fit of anger, so he hurriedly replied in a low voice, "Miss Qi, Ro Xian is muddle-headed from her illness. Her words don't count." Grandpa had been looking for Jojo for so many years. He had always been looking forward to Jojo's return. No one said that Jojo is redundant. Don't listen to Rochuan's nonsense. Arbor quickly tugged at Qi Xuanxuan's hand. Qi Xian angrily sat upright and still. She turned her head to look in the direction of the tent and said indifferently, "Remember what you said today. If you dare to mistreat my Jojo again because of the Mu family, I won't let you off." "I understand, Miss Qi. I will reflect on what happened today," Mu Xingchen quickly said. "Jojo, I hope you won't be angry with Big Brother, okay?" "Big Brother, I'm not angry," Arbor said helplessly. If she really had the time to be angry with someone like that, she wouldn't have agreed to let Xian remove the lightning spirit from Mu Ro Xian's body. Instead, it made Xian angry. When she came back, she was so angry that she didn't even want to eat her favorite food. Qi Xian snorted. Then, she smacked her lips and chewed on the half-bun in her hand. She mumbled, "Jojo, do you believe him? Can he really change?" Chapter 3092. Arbor couldn't help but look at her helplessly. Mu Xingchen's nature is not bad. Otherwise, she wouldn't have forgiven him back then. It was just that this child only knew how to cultivate and draw talismans since he was young. He didn't interact with many people normally. He definitely couldn't see through people's hearts more clearly than Arbor, who had lived 2 lives. This was human nature. Since Arbor accepted him as her big brother, she would tolerate all of his small flaws. Putting yourself in his shoes, Mu Rochuan grew up with him. Even if they weren't close, she's still his sister. He wouldn't let go so easily. Qi Xian pursed her lips, not saying anything. "All right, quickly wash up after eating. Sleep early today. We'll set off tomorrow." Sir Jojo patted her shoulder and smiled at her. "Wait until we enter the mystic realm. I'll make you rich." Qi Xian was stunned. Then, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing the little fellow run out of her tent, she shook her head and poured out all of the resentment in her heart. She was like this. When it was time to scold someone, she would scold them. After scolding them, she would fall asleep. When she woke up tomorrow, she wouldn't remember anything. Qi Xian was about to wash up, but her hands paused. Did her Jojo smile at her just now? When Xiao Mu returned to her tent, she saw that there was only a small lamp inside, its luster faintly discernible. Emolien was leaning against the couch with a book in his hands. When he saw her enter, he stared at her. Arbor quickly ran over and patted his hand. "I'll go wash up first. Wait for me." What she said, The Crown Prince's thoughts were inexplicably distant, and he didn't know where she had led his thoughts to. After the little fellow finished washing up, she ran back and snuggled under the blankets. Emolienne smiled and hugged her. "Do you have anything to say to me?" "I'm so sleepy." She raised her hand and yawned. She snuggled into his embrace and said softly, "I comforted Xian Xian just now. I comforted her so much that my saliva almost dried up." "Stop tormenting me." Emolienne smiled and reached out to dry her wet hair. She looked down at her and said, "In the future, let's not meddle in other people's business. In this world, not everyone knows how to repay kindness. There are a lot of ungrateful people, especially those who are inherently bad. No matter what we do, we can't change their minds. Most of the time, rejection is not a bad thing." Mr. Jojo stretched out his hand and yawned. He glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. "Stop nagging. Go to sleep." "Why are you sleeping? Talk to me for a while." "I'm so tired." Mr. Jojo snuggled into his arms and reached out to hold his waist. Suddenly, he retracted his hand and looked up at him. You've lost weight." The size of her waist seemed to have narrowed again. It seemed that Jojo's lotus had lost weight because of how busy he had been. He had to feed him more delicious food tomorrow and fatten him up again. "Jojo, you're always touching me secretly." Prince Emo smiled and winked. "You're even secretly measuring my size here and there." Sir Jojo looked at him expressionlessly and then covered his head with the blanket. His fist could not help but reach out and beat him fiercely under the blanket. "Brat, don't think that I can't understand your dirty words." Chapter 3093. The next morning. Holy Sun Mi Yen reorganized the team and did a head count. He then nodded and said, "There are 32 people from the Royal Academy on this trip. Not a single one is missing. Fire Refining City and Ice Sealing City are also complete. Flying Sword Academy and Blue Ocean Academy each lost a student. We don't know if they're still alive. The Doffing tribe and the other tribes are also fine. The remaining itinerant cultivators are also unharmed. Overall, this is considered a great fortune amidst misfortune." Holy Sun Mi Yen concluded and then said to everyone, "Now, we will start crossing the Red River Canyon. There are many poisonous insects and snakes in the canyon, and there will also be large spirit beasts lying in ambush. Everyone, pay attention to your feet. Because some of our teammates only returned to the team last night. After a mere night of rest, they probably haven't fully recovered yet. Therefore, we should be considerate of these teammates and take care of them a little. Let these teammates who only returned yesterday walk in the middle of the team," Holy Sun Mi Yen said seriously. "This Holy Sun will lead the team and lead the way. Eldest young Master Do, please travel with this Holy Sun. I'll have to trouble Crown Prince Lien and Your Highness Prince Chen to guard the back of the team together." Lord Holy Sun turned to look at Emolienne and Duan Yu and nodded slightly. "The two of you are the cultivators with the highest cultivation besides this Holy Sun. Please use your divine conscience to observe the surrounding environment at all times. If there are any abnormalities, inform everyone as soon as possible." Abba couldn't help but roll her eyes when she heard this. She thought, "This Lord Holy Sun is really very friendly." He was already very used to ordering Emolienne and Duan Yu around now. Prince Emo and Duan Yu rolled their eyes at Lord Holy Sun at the same time. Lord Holy Sun instantly felt a bit stifled. As for Chao, "Little junior sister won't be separated from us." Liang Qingqing quickly strode up to Chao Mu's side and picked up her small body. "We're in the same team. No matter what, we have to walk together." The little fatty also quickly nodded. This time, it was Lord Holy Sun's turn to roll his eyes and grumpily rebuke them. "I didn't want her to be separated from you guys. What I mean is, Miss Chao's situation is a bit special. Her legs are short, so it won't be easy for her to walk. You have to pay more attention to her." This was a no-fly zone. If he fell while walking, he would be scolded by a group of people. "Your whole family has short legs. Your Sun Moon Temple has short legs. The little girl glared angrily. Everyone was speechless. Pooh! Ha 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 ha! Liang Qingqing held back her laughter and carried the little girl to the middle of the group. Little junior sister, let's ignore him. His legs were too short. You're already a short person, yet you're still mocking others. Bah! Everyone was speechless. The Holy Sun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't be bothered to deal with these holy concubines, so he turned around and led everyone out of the camp. The group walked down the mountain path. The further they walked, the lower the terrain became. The Holy Sun was still very familiar with this place, so after leading the group for an entire morning, they basically did not encounter any danger. Apart from a few ignorant spirit beasts that tried to attack them and were killed by them in the end, nothing else happened. They rushed all the way forward. In order to save time, they didn't set up camp to cook at noon. In any case, with their cultivation, it wouldn't be much of a problem for them to go hungry for half a month. Chapter 3094. As for those with lower cultivations who wanted to eat, they just took out some dry rations from their inner worlds and casually filled their stomachs. Lord Xiao Xiao lay on Senior Sister Liang's back and fell into a deep sleep. She was woken up by the sound of raindrops. When he looked up, he saw round raindrops floating down from the sky. They gradually formed a line and grew heavier as they fell. Only the sound of flowing water could be heard on the ground. The rain is too heavy. We have to find a place to hide first. Although the saint had activated the defensive barrier, everything was still a little blurry due to the rain falling on them. Auber had also taken out an umbrella from his inner world and held it above Liang Qingqing's head. Everyone thought it was a very simple umbrella at first, but when they freaking took a closer look, this umbrella actually automatically deflected all the raindrops. Under the umbrella, Liang Qingqing and Auber were completely untouched by the rain. Not even a wisp of mist drifted toward them. Some knowledgeable people couldn't help but F*CK in their minds. How was this an ordinary umbrella? This was a spirit weapon, F*CK. He didn't know which crazy weapon refiner had actually forged an umbrella into a spirit artifact for no reason. This umbrella, it can't be some offensive weapon of mass destruction, right? Someone felt that they had probably guessed the truth. If it wasn't an offensive weapon of mass destruction, then it was too wasteful. What offensive weapon of mass destruction? That's just an umbrella. A weapon refiner from the Flying Sword Academy lifted his sunken chin up again. He said to them exasperatedly, "For my 20 years of weapon refinement experience, this umbrella's greatest use is to block the rain." What a dunce weapon refiner. Such excellent weapon refinement skills, but he actually used it to block the rain. I thought it was a weapon that looked like an umbrella. Everyone's face involuntarily darkened. Duan Yu couldn't resist chuckling. He cast a sidelong glance at Emolien beside him and mocked, "Dunce weapon refiner." Emolien. At this time, Holy Sun Mi Yen had already staggered over to Emolien and Duan Yu's side. He said to them through the torrential rain, "The rain is too heavy. I think everyone can't hold on much longer. Let's find a place to rest first." Emolien looked up at the towering stone walls on both sides of the river, then at the narrow path they were on. She shook her head firmly. "We have to leave this path as soon as possible. We can't rest. But there isn't even any shelter here. If we were to set up camp, it would take at least an hour. An hour is more than enough for us to leave this narrow path. There's not much further ahead. We have to go." Duan Yu nodded. "Let everyone overcome it." Lady Jojo carried her umbrella and laid on Senior Sister Liang's back. She looked a little listless. "Why aren't we leaving yet?" The saint went to discuss some matters with Crown Prince Lien and the others. "I can't walk anymore." A Flying Sword Academy student who had just been fished up from Du Chunjiang yesterday couldn't resist sitting on the ground in the torrential rain. He held his head and cried, "My entire body feels weak. I feel like I'm floating when I walk." Meanwhile, Emolien and Duan Yu had also walked up with the saint at this time. Prince Mo reached out to take the little fellow from Liang Qingqing's back. He held her in his arms and said aloofly, "Up to you. Anyway, we have to leave. If you want to set up camp here, feel free to do so." Chapter 3095. The Holy Sun quickly said to the two of them, "Speak properly if you have something to say. Aren't we in the middle of a discussion right now?" Duan Yu grumbled, "You guys frequently traverse this path, so you should know. There's a narrow path ahead. Can't you find a place to rest after exiting there? If you can't walk, then crawl. If you can't crawl, then stay here and wait for death. No one needs to be responsible for your lives. Your lives are your own, so you should consider your own choices." Mo Lien apathetically threw down these words and directly carried his Jojo, walking forward. Little Fatty and the others didn't say anything unnecessary. They consciously followed their footsteps and walked forward together. Abba waved his small hand, and a small bottle landed in front of the person slumped on the ground with a thud. Dou Fangmian hastily stepped forward and picked up that bottle. She opened it and sniffed, and a faint joyful expression appeared on her face. "It's a medicine that recovers physical strength. The effects are very good. Everyone who was fished up yesterday should take one." The person slumped in the rain quickly straightened up upon hearing this. Holy Sun Mi Yen also breathed a sigh of relief. Before entering the mystic realm, he didn't want any unforeseen circumstances to occur. "What are you doing?" A deep rebuke attracted everyone's attention. The Holy Sun and the rest turned to look and saw a Blue Ocean Academy student summoning a sizable spotted leopard from the mystic beast space and flipping over to sit on it. That Blue Ocean Academy student said, "I'm just finding a mystic beast for transportation." What's with such a big reaction? Who doesn't have a mystic beast, a spirit beast, or what? A temple priest couldn't resist furiously rebuking, "Do you think we all don't know how to find a spirit beast for transportation? Our Sun Moon Temple has traversed this path for so many years. When have we ever summoned a spirit beast for transportation?" That Blue Ocean Academy student scowled. "I was just fished out of the water yesterday, and I'm about to die from exhaustion. What's wrong with finding a mystic beast for transportation now? Is this worthy of being scolded by you guys?" After saying that, he patted that leopard's head. That leopard roared and scuttled out like it was flying, rushing ahead of the narrow path with a rumble. Sir Holy Sun's expression couldn't help but darken. This idiot! The temple priest was so angry that his face turned pale. "Let's go! Let's go!" Abba heard the sound of something running. He turned around and saw a leopard baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. It was running towards them at full speed. Mo Lien naturally noticed this as well, and he tightened his grip on Qiao Qiao's arm as he leaned to the side to avoid a path. The piebald leopard carried the student from the Blue Ocean Academy all the way to the front. Just as they were about to exit the narrow passage, suddenly, huge rocks rolled down from the left side of the rock wall. The boulders rolled down very quickly. At first, it was only one or two boulders, but when the piebald leopard ran to the entrance of the narrow path, the boulders on both sides rumbled and rolled towards his feet. That student's expression abruptly changed. Riding on the piebald leopard, he jumped and dodged the attack of a few boulders. While he was dodging to the side, several black vines wound out from behind the boulders and swept towards the mystic beast's four limbs. The piebald leopard's jumping speed was very fast. However, the vines gathered more and more, as if they had drilled out from the ground. Baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, they rolled towards them, making that Blue Ocean Academy student's hair stand on end. Not good, that student's heart jumped. Chapter 3096. After tugging at his piebald leopard, he hastily turned around and sprinted back the way he came. At this time, there was already billowing smoke and dust behind him. The boulders on both sides of the river kept falling, and the entire narrow path instantly became very congested with the sound of pouring rain. Everyone pushed each other in front, but there were people behind them. They had to constantly avoid those boulders and run forward. A moment of carelessness caused them to be smashed by a boulder. Even through the defensive barrier, they could feel a faint pain on their backs. Abba hugged Emolien's neck and leaned on his shoulder to look back. His almond eyes narrowed slightly. I reckon this path will be completely buried in less than 2 minutes. Emolien carried Jojo and led Qi Xianxian, Liang Qingqing, and the others to swiftly dash up. Everyone's expression was slightly grave as they followed Emolien up the mountain wall. When the others saw them climbing up, they were first stunned. Then they were elated when they saw that the mountain path they chose didn't have any boulders falling down for the time being. They all followed them up. Duan Yu pointed forward, and an iron arrow darted out from his sleeve. It carried a long rope as it rapidly shot forward. With a bang, it stabbed into the top of the mountain wall. The rope went taut and was tightly gripped in Duan Yu's hand. Duan Yu looked back and quickly gave Molien a look. The latter knowingly raised her hand and tossed Sir Jojo, who was observing the chaos, up first. Duan Yu scooped up the little fellow's body and swiftly dashed up, bringing Aber up to the top of the rock in a matter of minutes. He then tossed down the rope. Emolien accurately grabbed it, and in a split second, Milky Way also borrowed the force to swiftly dash up. Duan Yu then tossed the little fellow to Emolien and casually tossed down the rope, handing it to Duanmu Qing and Lu Yu, who were swiftly ascending. Duanmu Qing and Lu Yu also moved very swiftly. They both reached out to press on the stone wall and grabbed that rope at the same time, pulling it up on the spot. These people's actions could be said to be done in one go. They coordinated perfectly in a matter of minutes. Needless to say, their coordination was especially good. However, when Duanmu Qing and Lu Yu went up, they discovered that the atmosphere was a bit off. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down on them. The reason was that Sir Jojo's face was a bit dark. Sir Jojo's stoic face as he expressionlessly glared at the two innocent-looking men. He felt like he was going crazy. Did these two think she was a little doll? They didn't say anything and they were tossing her around. She was Sir Jojo, not a doll. How dare you disrespect Lord Chow Chow? The little fellow suddenly extended her fist and punched Duan Yu's head. Duan Yu, M.O., little was angry. Chow Chow, don't be angry. Duan Yu quickly consoled her gently. We didn't say your legs were short. It's just that you're small, so it's not convenient for you to pull the rope alone. He was simply rubbing salt into her wound. Emolien couldn't resist rolling her eyes at him, expressing faint sorrow at this guy's IQ. Sir Jojo raised his hand to hit him again. He then turned to look at the innocent-looking Emolien and smacked his head with a fist, humping haughtily. When Sir Jojo grows taller, he'll also toss you two around until you fly in the sky. Lu Yu's mouth twitched. She quickly took the rope from Duan Yu's hand and tossed it to the little fatty and the others. Let me do it, let me do it. Chapter 3097. The three of you should hurry up and settle your own personal grudges. Duanmu Qing turned back to look at them and silently lowered his eyes. Then he said to Lu Yu, pull them up first. Following closely behind were Qi Xianxian, Liang Qingqing and the rest. Some of them climbed up on their own, while others climbed up easily with the help of ropes. After they had gathered their own people, they began to help pull the others up. Sir Jojo looked at the chaos below expressionlessly. His gaze fell on the culprit who had caused this mess in the first place. The student from Lanyong Academy was already scared silly. His body was covered in injuries, and he had already recalled the spotted leopard. However, his gaze was timid, and he did not dare to look at everyone's accusing eyes. His gaze was evasive. The priest who had reprimanded him earlier pointed at the student after climbing up the cliff. He was so angry that his nostrils flared. He shouted angrily, "Are you stupid? Look at you, you bastard. Ah! I told you not to ride a mystical beast. Why didn't you listen? We, the Sun Moon Temple, have been in and out of this place so many times. If we could use mystical beasts as transportation, how could we not know?" The student now shrank his head like a quail, not daring to utter a single word. The priest continued to point at him and scold him angrily. "If you don't have a brain, learn to use your brain more. If you have any problems, ask your seniors first. If you are so reckless, even if you are lucky enough to enter the mystic realm, you will not only harm your own life, but also those who are traveling with you. Sir Holy Sun, I suggest that this student be disqualified from entering the mystic realm. Disqualify, disqualify. The others shouted angrily. The student immediately raised his head, his face flushed red. He hurriedly defended himself. You didn't explain it to me clearly at that time. How would I know that when mystical beasts run, the vibration will cause the rock walls and mountains on both sides to collapse? Everyone stood on the rocks in the pouring rain, glaring at this person. This kid was really something. He had made a mistake, yet he blamed it on others. How could such a person continue to travel with them? While carrying her large umbrella, Sir Chow Chow expressionlessly stayed in Emolyen's embrace. She turned her small head and gazed at that person just like this. At this time, the crowd's emotions were somewhat turbulent. Everyone seemed to have found an outlet to vent their anger, and they all attacked the quibbling student. So it's the temple priest's fault? They didn't tell you that riding a mount would be dangerous. Are you stupid? Previously, there were spirit beasts that attacked us. Didn't you hear Lord Holy Sun say to end the battle quickly? That is, we absolutely cannot allow any large spirit beasts to disturb this mountain range. That's right, it's obvious that this mountain can't withstand the earthquake. It will most likely collapse with a single tremor. It's all other people's fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say that. That student from Lonyong Academy was very anxious. He hurriedly defended himself with a red face. I know this time this is my fault. But there are some things that you didn't explain clearly. Who knew it would turn out like this? Holy Sun Mi Yan's handsome face was calm. He coldly glanced at that student from Lonyong Academy. You are disqualified. Go back by yourself. Chapter 3098. That Lonyong Academy's student instantly widens his eyes and lets out a sharp cry. What? I had to go through all sorts of hardships to obtain the right to enter this secret realm. How can you just disqualify me? Did I not make it clear enough? Holy Sun Mi Yen coldly glances at him. You are not qualified to follow us. Get lost immediately. That Lonyong Academy student's face flushes red and he turns to look at his several companions from the same academy. Seeing that they are also looking at him coldly, his heart suddenly chills and he has a depressed feeling of bawling. Why do they treat me like this? Why do they want to drive me away? He just made a small mistake that all young people would make. He was young and impulsive. It's not like he can't be saved. Moreover, everyone was fine now. Other than him who was injured, the others weren't injured. Why do they want to drive me away? This Lonyong Academy student can't figure it out no matter how he thinks. His face is slightly distorted and he stands stiffly in front of everyone, unwilling to move even half a step. Holy Sun Mi Yen also ignores him. In any case, he has already decided to drive this student away. This person's own opinion has nothing to do with them. Holy Sun Mi Yen looks down. He sees that the mountain rocks on both sides of the narrow path have stopped rolling. All the huge rocks are piled up on the path below, blocking that path completely. Holy Sun Mi Yen can't help but pinch his forehead in irritation. The path below is blocked. Now there are two ways. One is to consume spiritual power to cross the mountain. The other is to continue walking and cross the big rocks. We just need to persevere for a while and walk out of this path. If we go a little further, we will be out of the no-fly zone. Crossing the mountain is too exhausting. Mu Xingchen looks down at the girl, Mu Roxuan, who is leaning against the mountain wall and resting with her eyes closed. A faint trace of irritation flashes through his eyes. With Roxuan's physical strength, she can't cross at all. Just now, when young Master Do gave Jojo the energy replenishing pill, Roxuan stubbornly refused it. Now Roxuan's condition is the worst in the entire team. Zhongli Jiwei can't help but sneer. What else can we do? The path below is blocked by big and small rocks. Maybe the path ahead is completely blocked and we can't get out. That won't happen. The Holy Son shook his head and said, "These stones are just piled up to fill up the narrow path below. It's just a little more difficult than before. Compared to climbing the mountain, I reckon it will be easier." "Then we'll listen to the saint. Let's continue down," a few students from the royal school said. "All right." Everyone nodded in agreement when they heard that the road ahead would be easier. Jojo, Soma didn't care. After all, he didn't want her to leave. Mu Xingchen glanced at Mu Rochuan and sighed. He could only carry her on his back again and slide down the mountain wall with the help of the ropes. The group of people walked forward in the rain. The student from the Blue Ocean Academy followed them all the way. He didn't dare to get too close to them, but he never left their group. The other students of the Blue Ocean Academy couldn't bear it and couldn't help but whisper, "Should we go and plead with the Holy Son?" "I don't think there's any room for negotiation." Another person shook his head. Chapter 3099. He made such a big fuss and almost got his friends involved. "Do you have the nerve to plead for such a person?" Hearing their friend's words, the two students from the Lanyong Academy who couldn't bear to do that also gave up the idea. Forget it, there was no need to offend others for a person who had angered everyone. On the other side, Chen Baojia, who hadn't rested well for 2 days, was now walking with the group like a ghost. Not only did she have 2 panda eyes, but her body was also a little soft and light. Her forehead was very hot. It must be because she was drenched in the rain. When the stones fell just now, everyone didn't care about whether they were drenched or not. They all protected their heads and bodies to prevent being hit by the stones. Chen Baojia didn't even know when she got drenched in the rain. When she came back to her senses, she had already become a drowned rat. A thin layer of clothes clung to her body. It was wet, cold, and uncomfortable, causing her to sneeze continuously. "Sister Baojia, are you okay?" Ba Shu followed the group. Seeing Chen Baojia's curvy figure exposed in the rain, he couldn't help but feel his throat tighten. Seeing Chen Baojia's graceful figure when walking, Ba Shu couldn't hold back his restless heart. Thinking of the scene when he held her in his arms the other day, Ba Shu's evil thoughts began to turn again. He couldn't help but go to the front of the group, took out a coat, and put it on Chen Baojia. At the same time, he hugged Chen Baojia's slightly hot body. When Chen Baojia saw Ba Shu crawling over like an annoying fly, she was furious and panicked. She didn't know what to do. She struggled with all her might and pushed Ba Shu's body away unhappily. "Get out of my way," she said sternly. "Don't be like this, Sister Baojia. Look at you, your body is so hot. You must have a fever. Come, let Brother Ba Shu take care of you. Don't be shy. Anyway, we're on the same road. Brother Ba Shu will take good care of my Sister Baojia." The more Ba Shu spoke, the more wretched he became. He even took advantage of the fact that the others were hurrying to rub his body against Chen Baojia's hot body. Chen Baojia was so angry that she was about to go crazy. However, her whole body was so weak that she couldn't muster up any strength at all. In addition, Ba Shu, that wretched man, had used his spiritual pressure to lock her spiritual power. As a result, she didn't even have the strength to resist. She was so angry that she vomited blood. She kept looking at Zhongli Ji-wei with pleading eyes. But he didn't know if Zhongli Ji-wei didn't see it or what, but she was focused on hurrying along and didn't even turn her head. Ji. Chen Baojia wanted to ask for help, but she felt something hard rubbing against her side. Chen Baojia's whole body froze. Her legs couldn't help but tremble slightly. Ba Shu smiles wretchedly. "Sister Baojia, you're seriously ill. Come, let Big Brother Ba Shu carry you. Look, you're so sick that your legs are weak." "No, don't." When Chen Baojia opened her mouth, she found that her voice was as soft as a mosquito's bite. Ba Shu, that wretched man, became even more proud. Dirty thoughts spun around in his mind several times. He thought that he should find an opportunity to take care of this little beauty when they were sleeping together tonight. The first time was unfamiliar, the second time was familiar. Maybe this little beauty would fall in love with his strong body in the future. Bang! There was a vibration in the air. Chapter 3100. A stone ruthlessly smashed into the left side of Ba Shu's face, causing him to jump up with a yelp. All the colored thoughts in his head were instantly scattered. Who hit me with a stone? Ba Shu turned his head to look and saw the little stoic lying on Crown Prince Mo's shoulder. She was holding a large umbrella and holding 2 stones in her hands as she gazed at him apathetically. He didn't dare to easily offend this woman. Even his own crown prince, Rong Li, had suffered at the hands of this woman more than once, let alone him. Besides, His Highness Prince Chen was there, so he didn't dare to act rashly. If he dared to lay a hand on this woman, he would most likely be beaten to a pulp. He wasn't that stupid. Ba Shu could only resentfully cover the mud mark on his face and chuckle dryly. Ha. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. As soon as Ba Shu let go, Chen Baojia fell weakly onto the ground in the rain. Seeing Aba's cold and clear eyes through the rain, Chen Baojia was momentarily at a loss and didn't know what to think. She didn't expect that when she was at her lowest and most miserable, it was the stoic face that she hated the most who helped her. But so what? Wasn't it all because of her that she ended up like this? If this damn stoic hadn't appeared midway and snatched away all of His Highness the Crown Prince's attention, suddenly becoming the Crown Princess of the Divine Province? Right now, she should be sitting in the Eastern Palace enjoying fine wine and delicacies and living a comfortable life, instead of fighting for a chance to get close to His Highness and making a long journey to some secret realm for an adventure. Did they think she wanted to go to such a place? Wasn't it just to have a better chance to get close to His Highness the Crown Prince? It would be best if she could create a chance to be alone with him. Aba glanced at Ba Shu and Chen Baojia before withdrawing his gaze indifferently. Why did you save her? Prince Mo asked with amusement. His little emperor was not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business. I don't like him, Aba said indifferently. She was a straightforward person. It was one thing to not get along with Chen Baojia, but she really couldn't bear to watch a rude man bully a sick woman under her nose. Prince Mo smiled and pinched her cheeks. Jojo, you're the best girl in the world. There's no one better than you. Lady Chow Chow slightly raised her little chin, moved in his embrace, and said with a little pride, Of course I'm a good person. Everyone followed Holy Sun Mi Yen and moved forward along the narrow path, one step at a time. The journey that was supposed to take less than an hour took almost 4 hours before they finally saw the end of the road. Just when everyone heaved a sigh of relief, Holy Sun Mi Yan's complexion suddenly sank slightly. Everyone, be careful. Someone. Before he could finish his sentence, he heard the sound of wind whistling from both sides of the cliff. A series of arrows and crossbows were shot in the direction of their group in an orderly manner. Everyone was shocked. Except for a few people who cried out in panic, the rest of them all activated their defensive spirit tools in unison to block the attack. For a moment, the entire narrow path shone with brilliance. The defensive spiritual tools shimmered faintly as they were opened one after another. After a moment of chaos, everyone hurriedly reorganized their group and hid under the rocks on the side. Chapter 3101. Among them, the fastest to move were naturally Qi Xianxian, Little Fatty, and the others. Before they set off, Crown Prince Mo and the others had warned them that they might encounter an ambush from the heavenly fate on this stretch of the road. So even during the chaos just now, everyone still maintained a high degree of vigilance. Now that they heard Holy Sun Mi Yan's warning, they immediately moved quickly. Finding large rocks for cover was the first step, and immediately organizing a counterattack was the second step. Holy Sun Mi Yen turned his head and saw that Little Fatty and the others had already started to use spiritual power to launch a long-range counterattack against the archers lying in ambush on the rocky mountain walls on both sides of the river. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Their reaction speed was actually faster than the well-trained temple guards. Holy Sun Mi Yen didn't know what to think. He only swept a rather meaningful glance over Lu Yu, Hua Tao, and the others, seeing that they had already quickly controlled the situation on one side. Many of the sweeping arrows were all rapidly pushed away by the defensive shield they formed without exception. This Sikong Star battle team really had some skills. Perhaps their cultivation wasn't the highest in this group, but their ability to cooperate with each other really made people have a whole new level of respect for them. Holy Sun Mi Yen waved his hand and pointed at several temple guards, ordering them to quickly occupy one side of the rock and start a counterattack. After several rounds of arrow rain, a small number of people on their side were also injured. The two brothers, Dou Fengmian and Dou Fenghua, had been rescuing the injured at the rear. At this time, seeing Mu Xingchen supporting Mu Rochuan over, they couldn't help but smile bitterly and sigh. Brother Mu, Miss Mu's injuries are getting more and more serious. If we don't think of a way to treat her, the lightning spiritual power in her body will definitely violently expand from the inside out and eventually completely destroy her body. There's no cure. Mu Xingchen naturally knew that Mu Rochuan's current situation was very bad, but what could he do to solve it? Mu Rochuan's temper was more stubborn than anyone else's. She said that she didn't want Jojo to treat her, so she absolutely wouldn't let Jojo touch her. But the current situation, other than Qiao Qiao, who else could heal Mu Rochuan's injuries completely? Big brother, don't think about knocking me out and throwing me to that woman for treatment. Mu Rochuan gasped and said, I have a way to save myself. I don't need that woman's help. Mu Xingchen felt that her stubbornness was a little hateful. He couldn't help but raise his voice and reprimand her. What means do you have to save yourself? You're injured to this extent? Do you not want that Dantian spiritual ruin realm anymore? Could it be that she wanted to cripple her own spiritual ruin realm? After cultivating the Dantian spiritual void realm for so many years, how could he give it up just like that? How could Ro Xian do such a stupid thing? Mu Rochuan bit her pale lips tightly and curled her body up while trembling. Big brother, I rest for a while. I'll be fine. I'll be fine soon. Mu Xingchen let out a heavy sigh and was about to leave when he heard Yi Qingtong's voice. Only to hear Mu Rochuan say softly to him, Big brother, help me sit over there. No, don't leave me here. It'll only affect young Master Dou and the rest's treatment. Mu Xingchen sighed deeply and reached out to help Mu Rochuan up. Chapter 3102. If one said that Mu Rochuan was insensible, she could still think of not obstructing others. If one said that she was sensible, she just had to have such a deep prejudice against Jojo. He couldn't help but pinch the space between his eyebrows, feeling a tightening headache. When they were at home, at least Rochuan and Jojo got along well on the surface, with their mother mediating between them. He didn't expect that they would fall to such a state where they were like fire and water. Mu Xingchen helped Mu Rochuan to the side and sat down on a large rock, which could temporarily block the arrow rain from above. Mu Rochuan panted heavily and said to Mu Xingchen in a low voice, Big brother, I only need to obtain one of the divine weapons in the sun and moon wheels, then I'll be able to completely recover my damaged body. It's said that the sun and moon wheels were formed by the power to destroy the void when heaven and earth were first created. It's not an exaggeration to say that they have the power of a divine spirit. As long as I can obtain one of them, whether it's the sun or moon wheels, it'll help me reach a higher level. The injuries on my body will be completely healed. Mu Xingchen couldn't help but look at Mu Rochuan in shock. He lowered his voice and said, That's a secret treasure of the temple. Are you sure you can obtain it? The temple has entered the secret realm so many times. Do you think any of them has obtained the two wheels? What does this mean? It means that the treasure is obtained by the fated person without asking for it. Mu Rochuan said in a low voice, Big brother, as long as you help me obtain this treasure, it'll be the same as saving my life. Since you said that the treasure is sentient and will seek the fated person, then how do you know that you're the fated person? Mu Xingchen couldn't help but be shocked by Mu Rochuan's naivety. Where did Rochuan get the confidence to think that she would definitely obtain this pair of secret treasures once she entered the secret realm? Big brother can't make any guarantees, Mu Xingqian said indifferently. At this moment, he felt that his remaining patience for his sister was about to come to an end. According to normal people, Mu Roxuan was a little too pretentious. Big brother, I don't need you to make any guarantees. As long as you promise to help me. Mu Roxuan tightly grasped Mu Xingqian's hand and looked at him with bright eyes. As long as you promise me that you will treat me and that woman from Arbor fairly in front of the treasure. No, she won't help her. She will help me. Mu Xingqian was dumbfounded. Big brother, although she and you share the same mother, but I am your biological sister who grew up with you. My mother is the one who took care of you for so many years. Big brother, ask yourself honestly, ever since she came back, has she given us any help? There was no such thing. Not only that, but they also stirred up trouble in our first branch, making us a laughingstock for the second and third branches. She chased after her father to collect his debts and forced her stepmother to hand over her assets. She doesn't even have the slightest bit of brotherly affection for us. Look at her, she still hasn't acknowledged her ancestors. Mu Roxuan earnestly persuaded, Big brother, her surname is Qiao, not Mu. She's not our family. Look at her, there's hostility in her bones. She's simply a traitor. She won't be of one mind with us in this lifetime. Chapter 3103. Big brother, I beg you, please accept reality. She'll never be our family. Never. Mu Xingqian abruptly flung Mu Roxuan's arm away and stood up angrily. I'll take it that you're muddle-headed because of your illness. Don't ever say such things in front of me again. Mu Roxuan revealed a sorrowful expression. Big brother, you're biased. Ever since she came back, your heart has been completely biased towards her. Let me ask you, if we went to the mystic realm and both of us took a fancy to the same artifact, who would you help? Mu Roxuan's eyes widened as she stared at the dumbstruck Mu Xingqian. Seeing that he couldn't spit out a single word for a long time, Mu Roxuan couldn't help but droop her head dejectedly. She leaned against the wall and muttered, Actually, I should have known. You won't help me, you won't help me. Ever since she came back, she's been number one in your heart. Mu Xingqian was about to explode from anger. What was Mu Roxuan thinking all day long? She only wanted to enter the mystic realm to snatch the artifact and didn't treat this as a training ground to improve her cultivation? Jojo had never mentioned this in front of him. He also never asked him to choose who to help. In fact, Jojo even personally persuaded Miss Qi to help out so that he wouldn't be put in a spot. Why was there such a huge difference between people? Mu Xingqian couldn't help but rub his head and say to Mu Roxuan in a low voice, Rest well. This meant that he didn't want to continue talking to her. Mu Roxuan's lips trembled as she looked up at him, unable to conceal the disappointment in her eyes. Big brother actually rejected her just like that? She didn't expect that Big brother, who had always been very good to her, would heartlessly reject her small request for a woman he had only met for a month. Mu Roxuan's heart clenched in pain, and she found it difficult to breathe. She glared at Mu Xingqian's back as he jumped onto the rock and quickly joined the fray. Her fingers curled up slightly as she tightly clenched her fists. Aber, you really are a shameless jinx. You want to steal everything from me. I snatched away the respect my clansmen had for me, snatched away my mother's love for me, and even snatched away my brother's attention for me. Aber, Mu Roxuan and you from now on. Force. No. To. Stand. If Aber knew that Mu Roxuan swore in her heart, he would definitely be baffled. Who wants to snatch your things? To Lord Jojo, those false names were all illusory and unrealistic things. They were not as good as the yellow and white things. Who cared about the respect of their clansmen? If he were to hand over the treasure trove, he might even be able to make Sir Jojo give him a sidelong glance. On the mountain walls on both sides of the river, many black-clothed men with their faces covered as they walked in the rainy night. After a few rounds of arrows, the black-clothed men slid down from the mountain wall. It seemed that they were about to engage in close combat with them. Under the torrential rain, everyone only felt that their eyes were wet from the rain. Their vision was foggy and they almost couldn't tell who was who. Emolien made a prompt decision. Form groups of 3. Remember to help each other. Don't hurt your own people. At this time, Emolien's voice was like the sound of nature. Everyone subconsciously moved according to his voice. Qi Xianxian and the rest naturally didn't need to make any other arrangements. Chapter 3104. Most importantly, the other people who were in a state of disunity hastily formed into groups of 3 under Emolien's command and simultaneously faced the group of black-clothed people who were charging down from the mountain wall. As the rain poured down, the two sides collided with a loud bang, and their eyes turned red from the killing. One side was fighting with their lives on the line, while the other side was determined to end their lives in Red River Canyon. When the two sides met, they clenched their teeth and began to fight each other. Xiao Mu gazed icily at the people fighting each other under the curtain of rain. Just as her petite body moved, Emolien reached out to press her down. "Jojo, you're too young and not suitable to participate in the battle. Stay here and don't move." Sir Jojo expressionlessly looked at her. Emolien quickly added, "Don't worry, when the situation isn't so chaotic, you can join in." The battle was going to be freaking over soon, so what was she going to join in? Arbor speechlessly glanced at Emolien. Carrying her large umbrella, Emolien bent down to carry her to the back of a huge rock. He rubbed her small head. "Be good and don't move." Other than her eyes darting around, Sir Jojo's other facial expressions were practically zero. Emolien involuntarily pursed her lips in amusement as she looked at her. She then turned around and rushed towards the black-clothed men closest to her. Sir Jojo raised his small arm, a faint sorrow in his eyes. Sighing, he simply crouched behind the rock with his umbrella and continued to watch the show. The rain gradually became heavier. Sir Jojo was naturally fine as he hid under that large umbrella that didn't allow a single drop of rain to drift in. However, everyone else was completely drenched. Sigh. Sir Jojo sighed. He rummaged around in his inner world and took out several bottles of pills, tossing them to Duan Yu, Qi Xianxian, and the others who were nearby. Everyone hastily reached out to catch the pill bottles. Without asking a single question, they hastily opened the bottle cap and poured out a pill to swallow. The bottles were passed around the team, and everyone who consumed the pill instantly felt their spirits roused. The spiritual energy that was originally draining away actually gushed out like a spring and rapidly grew in their bodies. F***CK. Spirit Recovery Pill. And it was a spirit recovery pill that had terrifying effects and speed. Everyone was overjoyed, and the Temple of the Gods charged back with all their might, killing several black-clothed men on the spot. Arbor was crouching behind the rock to watch the show when he vaguely felt a shadow looming over him. Holding the large umbrella, he tilted his head slightly and looked up, only to see a face wearing a devil mask appear in front of him. Arbor disdainfully. "Scram if you don't want to die. You want to capture Lord Xiao Xiao? You're simply courting death." Sir Jojo squatting here. This meant that there was no danger here. But this demon mask was a mask of the earth. She carefully thought about it but still couldn't recall where she had seen it before, so she gave up on thinking about it. It must be someone from Heavenly Providence, the little fellow muttered in her mind. People from Heavenly Providence like to wear this kind of demon mask that enforced justice on behalf of heaven, making it seem like they were the demon-masked men under the saint. Those who obeyed heaven would prosper, and those who defied heaven would perish. Arbor pursed her lips and slowly stood up from her crouching position. She tilted her head and glared at the demon-masked man who suddenly jumped down from the rock and walked in front of her. "Watch out for my concealed weapon." Sir Jojo raised his right hand. The demon-masked man reflexively dodged to the side, but he didn't see anything after waiting for a long time. Chapter 3105. When he turned to look, he saw the little stoic's serious face with a hint of frigid disdain. She dared to capture Sir Jojo with this goal. She simply didn't know what to say. Arba lightly raised his left wrist and shouted, "Take this." That devil-masked man involuntarily snorted. After being tricked by this child once, did she think there would be a second time? The devil-masked man's eyes abruptly widened. By the time he realized that the concealed weapon was already in front of him, it was already too late to dodge. He could only shout, and a piece of divine armor appeared on his chest. That concealed weapon clanged as it landed on his chest, but it was blocked by the divine armor. The devil-masked man involuntarily snorted. "Little fellow, you think this little toy can—" Boom! Boom! Duan Yu turned to look at where Sir Jojo was crouching and couldn't resist face-palming when he saw the devil-masked man's figure that had been blasted flying. This dear friend was too naive. Didn't he know that the power of his mother-child chain explosion was a level higher than ordinary hidden weapons? Even a full-body divine armor might not be able to block that chain explosion, let alone a piece of divine armor. After the devil-masked man flew out pitifully, the little girl stood up from behind the rock and looked down at her shoes that were stained with raindrops in dissatisfaction. Just as Emolien flashed to her side, he saw the little stoic expressionlessly looking up and pointing at her small shoes. They got wet. Prince Emo instantly felt like he was about to be melted by the little fellow's cuteness. He quickly picked her up from the ground and said with a grin, "Hubby will change a new pair of shoes for you in a bit. A brand new one with lotus flowers embroidered on it." The little fellow expressionlessly curled her lips. Boom! The devil-masked man who was blasted away once again exploded. Everyone involuntarily blushed with shame and turned to look in that person's direction. That guy was truly pitiful enough. Tell me, why did he provoke the little stoic for no reason? Being killed once wasn't enough, he was killed 3 times in a row. After the mother-child chain exploded, the devil-masked man's body exploded again. This time, it was a talisman filled with lightning soul that exploded. His entire body was crackling with electricity. Being washed by the rain, that sour and refreshing feeling made everyone shiver from afar. However, that devil-masked man could be considered a tough guy. After being blasted 3 times in a row, he flipped himself up and stood up again with electric currents sizzling all over his body. He held a black iron rod in his hand. Because his whole body was electrified, his hands were numb. He subconsciously threw away the rod in his hand. He seemed to be very angry. His face couldn't be seen clearly under the mask, but his whole body was filled with anger, like the prelude to a volcanic eruption. Everyone mourned for him for 3 seconds, then turned back to continue fighting with the man in black in front of them. Jojo, who was carrying her umbrella, looked at the man expressionlessly. She then turned to ask Emolien, "Have we met this devil-masked man before? Do you still remember our battle at June Mountain's Yeting Court on Seekong Planet? At that time, Siming Manor's high priest wore an iron demon mask and led many people to encircle and annihilate us." Arba shook his head and recalled a bit of an impression. Chapter 3106. After that, outside the Great Gale Forest, the high priest was surrounded by us and his identity was exposed. In the end, he was killed. Arba thought carefully and nodded. What does the dead high priest have to do with this devil-masked man? The high priest's mask is made of iron. Emolien muttered. And this devil-masked man's mask seems to be of a higher standard than the high priest's. This man's mask is made of silver and there's a layer of purple light on it. I think he should be a hall master in Tianyun. Arba looked back and nodded. You're right. The people from Tianyun came here to ambush. I think they're here for me. Arba had a strange thought. For a moment, she seemed to have thought of something, but that thought flashed through her mind very quickly. She was a little depressed that she didn't catch anything. Emolien looked down at the little fellow and shook his head. That might not be the case. Look at their operation this time. It's obviously very methodical. It must have been planned long ago. So they might not be here for my Jojo. Emolien rubbed against her little face. Don't worry, I'm here for you. Sir Jojo looked at him expressionlessly. You rubbed the blood in your hair on my face. Emolien could not help but want to laugh. He reached out and rubbed her little face. I'm covered in blood. No matter what, I have to stain you with a drop or two. This is called sharing blessings and suffering together. Then, he carried her to Qi Xianxian and the others. Is everyone all right? Everyone hurriedly shook their heads. Many people from the other academies were injured. I think the two Surdos were too busy to save them. Those in the academy who know a little about medicine have all gone to help. Put me down. I'll go take a look. Aber said mildly. Your shoes are wet. Emolien said in amusement. Aber glanced at him. Didn't you say you were going to give me a new pair of shoes embroidered with lotus flowers? Everyone. This conversation sounded weird no matter how one listened to it. Emolien laughed heartily as he put down his wifey. Jojo carried her umbrella and walked towards the ward. When she got closer, she realized that there were quite a lot of people. Although Madame Gowan didn't know any medical skills, her powder could help alleviate pain, so she also helped. When Gowan-gua turned around and saw the little stoic walking over with a stoic expression, he subconsciously shuddered and pulled Huang Yong back several steps to the side. The young lady didn't even look at her. She walked towards a Hong Fu Academy student who was holding his arm and wailing. What are you wailing for? He was a grown man, yet he was howling like a girl. Shut up. The man's expression froze, and he actually shut his mouth, cold sweat dripping down his face. Hand. Sir Jojo shouted expressionlessly. The student from the Hong Family Academy was nervous and quickly stretched out his hand. Then, he turned to look at Madame Gowan, who was cowering in a corner like a quail. Come here. Madame Gowan's heart skipped a beat, and she almost peed her pants from fright. She had already decided not to provoke her again, so why was she still unwilling to let her off? Madam Crown Princess, what do you want? Hold the umbrella. Aber impatiently raised the umbrella. Madame Gowan quickly reached out to take it and held up the large umbrella for her with a bewildered expression. Chapter 3107. Aber raised his finger and took out a row of silver needles from his inner world. Each of the needles sparkled with a bright light and lined them up in front of her. She took out a few needles and inserted them extremely quickly without batting an eyelid. Then, her small hand patted and pressed on that person's arm, and a crack was heard. At first, that person was in so much pain that tears and snot flowed down, but he felt the pain abruptly disappear within 2 seconds. Just as he was about to open his mouth to ask, a pill flew into his mouth. It melted in his mouth and disappeared without a trace in 3 seconds. The medical fee is 10,000 spirit coins and the pill is 100,000 spirit coins. Aber said aloofly and shouted at the dumbstruck Madame Gowan, What are you spacing out for? Write it down. Madame Gowan hastily nodded. She held an umbrella with one hand and took out a pen and paper from her inner world with the other, hastily writing it down. The little stoic's small face was cold as she circled the crowd. The Doe brothers felt that the number of patients around them was decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Dou Fingmian couldn't help but sigh in relief. He turned around and nodded gratefully at the little stoic. Thank you for your help. The little stoic's small face was wooden as she glanced at him expressionlessly. I need money. Young Master Dou felt all sorts of feelings welling up in his heart. It was truly difficult to approach the little lady. The little lady always had the idea of settling the debt with strangers. Both sides didn't owe each other anything and didn't need to worry about the other's favor. The little stoic was a little freak. It was very difficult for her to owe you a favor, but it was even more difficult to owe her a favor. This unapproachable attitude was really making people feel uncomfortable in their hearts. Hall Master. They themselves aren't weak. What's more, Holy Sun Mi Yen actually brought the people of the Divine Hall to make trouble. A masked man in black flashed to the side of the ghoul masked man and said in a deep voice, I think we have to carry out another plan. We can't wait any longer. A cold glint flickered in the depths of the devil-masked hall master's eyes. After muttering to himself for a few seconds, he said, "My lord's meaning is that it's better to capture them alive. But if we can't capture them alive, it's fine if they're dead." That person couldn't help but be a bit anxious. After all, these people's strength isn't ordinary. The ghost-face hall master's gaze froze on everyone. The black-clothed masked man couldn't help but feel anxious. "Hall master, why are you hesitating? What are you talking about?" Another masked man in black flashed to his side. Without saying a word, he raised his hand and slapped the other party in the face. "Is this how you talk to the hall master? Enough." The Ghostface Hall Master said coldly, "All of you leave. Let me think about it." The man who was slapped in the face glared at the person who slapped him. His gaze was as cold as the tip of a knife, piercing into the other party. However, the latter didn't seem to care at all. She just glanced at him indifferently and then sneered, "What? You're not convinced? Do you want to be beaten again?" The masked man thought about it again and again. He felt that he couldn't defeat the other party, so he didn't go forward to humiliate himself. Although he was unwilling, he still retreated angrily. The Ghostface Hall Master frowned as he stared at the two parties fighting in the distance. "Although we brought a lot of people, the other party's strength is really not bad. Moreover, the pills in that little stoic's hands indeed seem to be pretty good. Her level of healing is also quite impressive." Chapter 3108. From the looks of it, it seems like we have the upper hand right now, but as time passes, we'll definitely be at a disadvantage. Master wants us to kill her if we can't capture her alive. Hall Master, you should make a decision soon. The Ghostface Hall Master turned around and swept him a cold glance. What can a little girl change? Master is truly too cautious. That masked man chuckled. It's precisely because of this caution that Master was able to secretly develop our organization to this extent. The Ghostface Hall Master didn't say anything else. He muttered to himself for a moment before nodding slightly. "Execute Plan B then." Arbor raised his small hand and took the full consultation fee bill from Madame Gowan's hand. He was about to leave. Just as he was about to leave, he saw Ollie supporting a person over and shouting anxiously, "Quick! Quick! Young Master Do, quickly come over and take a look. No need to be so nervous, it's just a small scratch." Ming Yasi involuntarily shook his head when he saw his younger brother making a big fuss with bulging veins. He was currently looking down at the wound on his arm that was grazed by an arrow. When he looked up, he just happened to see the little stoic's expressionless face. His heart skipped a beat for no reason, and Ming Yasi opened his mouth to speak. On the side, Ali blocked in front of him defensively and glared at Arbor. "Get out of the way. Don't block the way if you have nothing better to do. Don't think that I don't dare to hit you just because you little girl's body has shrunk. I'm the kind of person who can even hit an 80-year-old woman, let alone a D*MN girl like you." Ali put on a strong front but was actually weak inside, but he was a bit apprehensive as he looked at Arbor in his heart. To tell the truth, after a few encounters, he had truly suffered many losses at the hands of this little girl. Now that he saw her for the first time, he felt goosebumps for no reason. He had already mustered all the courage in his life to be able to shout at someone. Arbor glanced at him coldly and was about to turn around and leave without bothering to say another word to him. However, he heard Ming Yossi growl, "Stop right there. Big brother." Ali instantly tensed up. F***CK, he had just chased that stoic face away, and Big Brother actually called out to her? Big Brother, he didn't have the ability to defeat the little stoic. Arbor glanced back, his eyes cold and cheerless, with 30% alienation and 70% indifference, completely heartless and thorough. Ming Yossi's hand shrunk back slightly. His eagle-like eyes stared fixedly at the young lady in front of him as he coldly ordered, "Come and treat my injuries." Arbor couldn't be bothered with this egomaniac. He jumped down from the rock and took the umbrella that Madame Gowan handed to him. He then turned around and rushed towards Qi Xianxian and the others. Unexpectedly, Minyasi was tall and his strides were large. In just a few steps, he had already blocked her path. What? You only know how to poison people and not save people? Looks like it's because your medical skills aren't good enough. Minyasi's lips curled as he indifferently said, "Why don't we make a bet? If you can heal my wounds within a minute, I'll give you 1,000,000 spirit coins, plus a stalk of our Ming province's unique purple netherworld grass. How about it?" Sir Jojo, who was about to leave halfway through, suddenly turned back and raised a small hand, extending it in his direction. Minyasi snickered inwardly and took out a stalk of grass glowing with purple light from his inner world. Chapter 3109. Lady Xiqiao tilted her head and looked at him carefully for a while. Then, she raised her head and nodded at him with a cold expression. "Ha ha." Ollie couldn't help but roll his eyes. "You haven't even seen the injury on my brother's arm and you've already agreed to it. What if you can't do it? Why is he so annoying?" Xiao Mu coldly glanced at Ollie and retorted, "Isn't it annoying for a man to talk so much?" Where am I? How was he annoying? Didn't he just open his mouth and ask a question? How was he annoying? Annoying? Are you going to shut him up or not? Arber said coldly. Brother, look at her. Shut up, Yasi said coldly. Ollie suddenly felt as though the sky was falling. He turned his head, his eyes glistening with tears as he looked pitifully at his brother. Yasi patted him on the shoulder. I'm trying to save you. You don't want to be a mute for the rest of your life, do you? Ming Yas casually found a damp rock and sat down. He raised his arm slightly and said with a cold expression, "Watch." Lady Chow Chow walked forward and stepped on the water on the ground. She jumped onto the rock beside him and squatted down. My arm was injured by Emolien before, Yasi said coldly. Now that he's injured, that's just adding to his injuries. Are you sure you can heal him in one go? Doc Yas asked coldly. If it wasn't for Emolien, how could those men in black hurt me? Can you shut up? Arber looked up at him impatiently. The two men looked at each other. One was cold and frosty, while the other was suppressing his emotions that were about to explode. You're being unfair to me, Yasi suddenly said. Sir Jojo rolled his eyes in annoyance. He listened to the man's nagging, but he didn't slow down. A few silver needles fell, helping to correct the dislocated tendons and veins. Then, she gathered a stream of water in her hand and gently washed the wound. When the clotted blood was washed away, the fresh blood inside was revealed. Xiao Mu expressionlessly took out a blood-staunching powder and slapped it on his arm. Then, he rubbed it a few more times, causing the guy to grimace in pain as he moved his arm slightly. However, he resisted the pain and didn't let out a groan. You were also so heavy-handed when applying medicine for Emolien and Duanyu? Arber couldn't be bothered with him. He took out a box of ointment, mixed it in his hand, and applied it on his wound. Hiss. Ming Yas only felt that although the ointment was cool and refreshing, there was an indescribable bone-piercing pain that flowed beneath the surface of his skin. It was as if this little girl had thorns. When he touched her casually, his hand was really full of bumps. You're just secretly rejoicing, Arber grumpily said. After rubbing my hemostatic powder with a clot-dispersing ointment for 3 minutes, I guarantee you'll be fully healed in a matter of minutes. If it weren't for that stalk of purple nether grass, who would rub his wound for him? Bah! Give it to me! Yasi pursed his lips and folded his slender legs. He directly took out a bag of spirit coins and a stalk of purple nether grass from his inner world and tossed them to the little fellow. This crown prince is a man of his word. Could it be that I would deceive a little girl like you? Chapter 3110. Arber glanced at him and kept everything he had given him back into his inner world. Then, he used a finger to press him onto the wet rock. Sit properly. Hey, I've already paid for your treatment. Can't you treat me a little better? Abba took out a piece of ointment and applied it to his wound with a plop. The guy grimaced in pain and frowned. Sir Jojo was secretly delighted. He snorted. That's what you get for being so annoying. Next time, when you see Sir Jojo, you'll be reminded of the pain you're going through. Hurry up and stay as far away from Sir Jojo as possible. Are you doing this on purpose? Ming Yas frowned and sat up cross-legged. You couldn't have done something to the ointment to make me suffer, right? Sir Jojo looked at him expressionlessly. You don't believe me. I believe you. Ming Yas was startled. He nodded and said helplessly, Fine, fine. Do it. I won't blame you even if I die from the pain, all right? Sir Jojo snorted in his heart and went a little gentler. This person was annoying and had a bad mouth, but he was still a tough man. Sir Jojo had added 10 times the amount of ointment that stimulated pain in his wound. He was still able to endure it and not make a sound. He really was a man. Forget it. I can't be bothered to lower myself to his level. I'll beat him up with my real strength in the future. I won't do these fancy things. Sir Jojo thought to himself and removed the ointment that stimulated his wound. The little girl lowered her head, her expression somewhat focused as she helped him treat the injury on his arm. Ming Yas stared at her in a daze. Although the rain was pouring down, he couldn't see the little girl's delicate face clearly through the curtain of rain. But for some reason, he had a faint illusion that at this moment, he was very close to her. So close that he could touch her if he stretched out his hand. Boom. An earth-shattering boom rang out, startling Ming Yasi so much that he retracted his hand slightly. His fingers brushed past Abba's sideburns as he raised his head. That voice instantly resounded throughout the entire canyon, startling a series of hoarse-flying black crows and arrow hawks. Ming Yas immediately propped himself up with one hand and subconsciously raised his hand to pull the little girl behind him. Hey, there seems to be an unforeseen event. A hurried howl came from outside the crowd, accompanied by the Holy Sun's calm voice. Stay calm. Up, up. Everyone, go to the Rocky Mountain and hide for a while. A few students from the Hong Fu Academy immediately turned around and climbed up the stone wall. Just as they were about to climb up, they were forced back down by a rain of arrows. Behind the rocks on both sides of the passageway, on the towering rock walls, a dozen or so pitch-black and shiny cannons were pushed out, appearing extremely bright under the night sky. Spirit Stone Cannon. Everyone's hearts couldn't help but tremble as they stared at the dozen or so cannons that were emitting black light. The Holy Sun cursed inwardly. These people occupied the high ground. If the cannons fired a few shots at them, they would really be finished. Everyone below, listen up. At this moment, the ghastly face hall master occupied the advantageous terrain and shouted to the crowd from above. If you don't want to die, stand out from the crowd immediately. Hand over a strand of your soul and submit to Tianyun. Chapter 31:11. Bah! A tribe's boar spat on the ground and cursed with arms akimbo. A bunch of cowards. Come down and continue fighting with Grandpa if you have the guts. Holy Sun Mi Yan's eyelid twitched, and he was about to berate this boar. However, that ghost-face hall master raised his hand slightly. A cold glint blossomed in his eyes, and he heavily slammed his palm down. Boom! With the sound of a robe, that boar was instantly sent flying by the spirit stone cannon and exploded into fireworks in the air with a bang. Copious amounts of blood mixed with the rain and sprinkled down. Everyone was so shocked that they stood rooted to the spot, and their pupils involuntarily contracted. That fellow was a cultivator at the 7th level of the spirit realm. His soul was scattered with a single blow from the spirit stone cannon. And the other party currently had more than a dozen spirit stone cannons with such power. Could they still have a way out? Ming Yasi creased his brows and reflexively pulled Sir Jojo's small body back. Chow Chow had originally wanted to take small steps forward, but in the end, she was pulled back again. Swish! A plain white figure abruptly appeared in front of him. Ming Yasi gripped his sword and was about to attack when he clearly saw Duan Yu's face through the rain and mist. This fellow truly looked like a freaking ghost. His plain white clothes were untainted by the rain, and his long hair fluttered slightly under the night sky. His narrowed eyes flickered with cold lightning as he sized Ming Yasi up from head to toe. Then, his gaze landed on Ming Yasi's bandaged arm. Ming Yasi didn't realize that he was slightly relieved. His hand paused, and he couldn't resist grumbling, "What are you doing? You can't even make a sound when you walk." Why was it so annoying when it floated around like a malicious spirit? Duan Yu gazed deeply at him, and with a turn of his figure, he arrived behind Duan Yu. He picked up Lady Chow Chow, who was holding an umbrella to watch the show, and swiftly retreated without a word. Ming Yasi frowned in surprise, but he didn't say anything. He merely reached out to block his eyes and tilted his head to avoid a glaring light. "Where's the little girl next to you?" the ghost-face hallmaster asked as he looked at him coldly. Ming Yasi couldn't help but be taken aback. He immediately realized something and sneered, "None of your business." Ali was so frightened that his heart nearly jumped out of his chest. He hastily stepped forward and blocked in front of his big brother. He harshly shouted at the hallmaster, "Punk, don't act recklessly, I'm telling you. This is His Highness the Crown Prince of Ming. If you dare to harm the Crown Prince of Ming, you're finished." The Crown Prince's left, the one on the left couldn't help but snort. "What? Why don't you tell me?" The ghost-face hallmaster obviously didn't like this person talking too much. He raised his eyes and gave the person a warning look. "You of Ming S. Yasi! Exclamation point. Bang! Ming Yasi's pupils contracted, and he grabbed Ali's arm, dragging him to dodge the attack. After a huge rumble, the rock walls on both sides of the valley started trembling again. Sand and rocks tumbled down, and they only stabilized after shaking for a good while. Chapter 31:12. Everyone's expressions changed again and again, and they all involuntarily shrunk their necks. They felt the cold wind and rain pouring into their hearts, depriving them of even the last trace of warmth. At this rate, even if they weren't blasted to smithereens by the spirit stone cannons, they would be buried alive by the rocks on both sides. A gigantic pit appeared next to Dark Yas. Everyone stayed far away from that pit as they looked in horror at that heavenly Kismet's ghoulish hall master. Sir Jojo knitted his brows and turned to look at Duan Yu, who had a grave expression. He whispered, "Later, we'll take advantage of the chaos to hide on Paradise Planet." She couldn't care less about the other people's lives. At least, she had to ensure that her companions were all intact. In this current situation, it was obvious that fighting head-on was not the best choice. Besides the archers, there were also the spirit stone cannons above them. Everyone had witnessed the might of those spirit stone cannons with their own eyes earlier. A level 7 spiritual cultivator would become cannon fodder in a matter of minutes. She naturally couldn't let everyone take the risk, so the best solution now was to hide on Paradise Planet. As for the others, they had to pray for their own good fortune. She wasn't a savior, so how could she save so many people? Duan Yu looked down at her and reassured with a smile, "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Where's my Lien?" Abba recalled that she hadn't seen her Lien for a long time, and her small head looked left and right. She then glanced at Duan Yu suspiciously with a stoic expression. "You two didn't secretly do something big behind my back again, right?" "We didn't." Duan Yu helplessly glanced at her. "Later, if we can avoid hiding on Paradise Planet, then don't go in to avoid being discovered. That Hallmaster's strength is very extraordinary, but there's still a mighty figure hiding behind him." Abba couldn't help but be shocked. Her divine conscience could sense the fluctuations of that Hallmaster's divine energy, but she couldn't sense anyone else. This meant that the cultivation of the person behind the Hallmaster was probably more than just a bit higher than hers. If it weren't for Duan Yu's reminder, she wouldn't have known that there was someone hiding behind the Hallmaster. That person is only a strand of divine conscious hiding here, Duan Yu said softly. Abba was even more shocked when he heard this. Just a strand of divine sense was already so powerful. It could be seen that the person's cultivation base was probably above Mo Lien's. Abba looked at Duan Yu worriedly and said, "Forget it. If it's really dangerous later, we'll... Jojo. In short, I can't just stand by and watch all of you fall into danger. At most, the fact that I have a spirit domain will be exposed. If it is exposed, then it is exposed. In any case, we and Tian Yun are already life and death enemies. Even if there is no such thing, others will not let us go so easily. Moreover, no one could enter her spirit domain without the power to tear open the void. Even someone like Mo Lien, who had just grasped the power of the void, couldn't find her spirit domain, let alone others. How many people in the world could tear the void apart? Abba was willing to gamble for them. Duan Yu couldn't help but look down at her helplessly. Although Jojo said so, he still didn't want her to be in danger unless it was absolutely necessary. If she pulled everyone into the peach blossom now, they would be able to avoid this crisis. However, the exposure of her spirit domain was no joke. How many busybodies would covet it and chase it down? Duan Yu almost didn't dare to think about it. Chapter 31:13. At that time, his Jojo would never have a day of peace. He didn't want her to have to live such a life. After all, anyone with keen eyesight would naturally be able to smell something unusual. If the aura of the opening of the spirit domain leaked out, even normal cultivators would be able to sense it, let alone that mighty figure hiding behind the Hall Master. No way, he couldn't let Jojo bear this kind of danger. He didn't tell Jojo that the Hall Master was a peak venerable immortal, not someone anyone could casually provoke. Duan Yu reflexively grasped her petite hand. "You're not allowed to act on your own. We will resolve this matter. Just do as you say." Sir Jojo rolled his eyes. "That Hall Master is still calling for me. I'll go meet him and buy some time for Lien." How could the little fellow not understand? Jojo's Lien must have snuck away by herself. Otherwise, why wouldn't he appear by now? These two must have secretly discussed a countermeasure and just wouldn't tell Jojo. Duan Yu couldn't help but chuckle bitterly as he poked her head. "What can you do with your short stature and short legs? You're the short stature and short legs. Watch me." She kicked her two short legs. "I'll go buy some time." Jojo. Seeing her glare, Duan Yu had no choice but to let go of her and put her on the ground. "Don't worry. What can happen to me? I'm just chatting with them." Sir Jojo patted her calf. Right, her height only reached his knee. How heart-wrenching. She was indeed short enough. Was she ever so short when she was young? Impossible. Duan Yu couldn't resist wanting to laugh, but he was also a bit worried. With Chow Chow's stoic face and her attitude of chatting with people for 2 years, what kind of nonsense could she talk to others about? Duan Yu's gaze was fixed on this bean-sprout-like person as she strode toward the front of the crowd. Ali was quarreling with the ghost mask hall master. When he lowered his head, he saw the short legs walking over and looking at them expressionlessly. Ali almost choked on his breath. F***CK. They had been feigning civility with her for a long time, arguing until their faces were red and their necks were thick, but they still hadn't exposed her. Why did this short-legged girl come over for no reason? Was he in a hurry to expose himself in front of everyone? Ming Yossi turned around and his face darkened. "What are you doing here? Go back." His hawk-like gaze scanned the surroundings before glaring fiercely at the innocent-looking Duan Yu. "Why aren't you bringing her back? What's a little brat like you doing? Your whole family is full of brats." Lord Jojo's face darkened as he pushed aside Mayus's outstretched arm and walked to the front of the crowd. He raised his head and looked at the ghost-face hall master. "Your great-aunt is here. What nonsense do you have to say? Spit it out." Everyone was speechless. The masked man on the right hurriedly looked back. He could feel that the corner of his hall master's mouth was twitching under the mask. This lousy child still called herself Great Aunt. Whose great aunt are you? Xiao Mu surveyed her surroundings before fixing her gaze on that grim-faced hall master. She took 2 steps forward and stared fixedly at him for quite a while before turning her small face hesitantly and asking crisply, "Have I seen you somewhere before?" "No." Xiao Mu looked him up and down. "What business do you have with me? Speak." Sister 18. Chapter 31:14. The Ghostface Hall Master suddenly calls out. A lightning-like figure lands in front of Arbor with a boom. Half of the rotting face turned around, and half of the white eye was staring at her without blinking. Lord Jojo hurriedly takes a step back and crosses his arms in a defensive posture. "Why are you so ugly? Can't you find a good-looking corpse puppet to fight with me?" That Ghostface Hall Master chuckles. "Little girl, if you lose today, you have to obediently leave with us. Are you willing to abide by this bet?" Arbor says expressionlessly, "Then what if I win?" The Ghostface Hall Master rolls his eyes. "If you win, this Hall Master will send 17th Sister to fight with you." "Shameless!" The little girl angrily shouts. "Then what about your 17th Sister? There are still so many sisters above her. You want me to fight so many matches by myself?" The Ghostface Hall Master chuckles. "Don't you like to fight the most? Now I will give you a chance. Are you willing to accept it?" "Not really." Arbor says indifferently. "She is not stupid. If she loses, she has to go with them. If she wins, she has to continue to accept other people's challenges. Only if she is crazy would she accept such an unfair bet." "That is really a pity," the Ghostface Hall Master says with a smile. "Then I can only send 15th Sister to besiege you." Arbor chuckles. "You sent 15th Sister to besiege me. Do you think I don't have anyone here? Then you can't let others help you." The Ghostface Hall Master shakes his head and says with a smile, "If you let others help you, then I will call people to blast that guy into pieces." The crowd below is in an uproar. Other than Qi Xianxian, Situ Yi and their group of friends, everyone in the group retreats 18 steps away from Arbor. But Holy Sun Mi Yen only stands there with a cold expression and does not move half a step. The priests and guards behind him originally wanted to retreat with the crowd, but when they saw that their holy son did not move at all, they were too embarrassed to continue retreating. "Okay." The little girl nodded reluctantly. "I'll fight with Qizheng. If I lose, I'll leave with you. If I win, I'll continue to fight with 17th Sister." The Ghostface Hall Master laughed. "Little girl, you have to be careful." As soon as the Hall Master's voice fell, the 18th Sister swung her messy hair and roared. With half of her eyes showing the whites of her eyes, she suddenly pounced in her direction. Bang! A white light flew out of Arbor's palm and suddenly exploded at the feet of Sister 18. An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire valley. "Ha ha 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 ha!" The little girl's crisp and wild laughter suddenly rang out. "Fools! Is my core-ravaging thunder tasty? You want to catch me? You might as well die with me. Ha 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 ha! If this crown princess can't live, then all of you here, don't even think about leaving here alive. All of you will be buried with me." The ruthlessness in her voice clearly floated in the air. Not only were Holy Sun Mi Yen and the others stunned, even the Ghostface Hall Master and his group were completely stunned by her move. What's going on? With this move of hers, everyone on the field was thrown into chaos. Chapter 31:15. He turned to look and saw that the 18-year-old corpse puppet had eaten a core-ravaging thunder. Half of its body was gone and it was lying on the ground, wailing in grief. It looked so miserable that it couldn't get any more miserable. This little girl was really a ruthless character. The Ghostface Hall Master was shocked and wanted to slap himself. Master had already warned him that this little girl was definitely a ruthless person. He couldn't give her any chance to retaliate. Otherwise, when she went down to the 18th level of hell, she would definitely drag him down to the 19th level. Everyone was flabbergasted for less than a second before they subconsciously wanted to turn around and run for their lives. Idiot, big idiot. Using other people's lives to threaten me? I'll kill them right now. I'll make sure they're all dead. Let's see what you can use to threaten me. Miss Chow threw out the 5 spirit talismans. Everyone only saw the 5 spirit talismans floating in the air above their heads. They only had enough time to raise all their defenses. The 5 spirit talisman burst out with a bang. The entire valley was trembling, wailing, and howling in pain. Rumbling sounds began to come from afar. Meanwhile, amidst this chaos, Emolien brought Little Seven and Chestnut to swiftly attack those dozen or so spirit stone cannons. He directly smacked down with his palm, smashing the spirit stone cannons into a pile of fragments. Little Seven and Chestnut were even crazier. One swung her dragon tail and slapped the dozens of black-clothed people down the mountain wall. The other swung her 8 tails and smashed 3 to 4 spirit stone cannons, causing them to fall apart under her tail. At first, they didn't think that the little girl would dare to kill her own people. Everyone was still in shock. They couldn't believe that the little girl had gone berserk. But following that, something even more inconceivable happened. The dozens of threatening spirit stone cannons on the mountain wall were destroyed one by one. This time, the Ghostface Hallmaster and the others were caught off guard. After thinking it through, they couldn't help but gnash their teeth in hatred towards Miss Chow. This little girl had purposely created this chaos. She killed those team members herself. The 5 spirit talismans were all in her hands. If she wanted them to explode, they would explode. If she didn't want them to explode, would they explode? And even if they exploded, she could control the 5 spirit talismans easily. She could adjust the explosive power within a small range. A group of adults had been tricked by a child. In the end, just as the Ghostface Hallmaster vaguely understood what was going on, Prince Emo appeared behind them with 2 sacred beasts, catching them off guard. Damn it! The Ghostface Hallmaster was about to go crazy. This little girl was so cunning that she wanted to die. No, not only was he cunning, he was also a ruthless character. When she went berserk just now, it really scared everyone down there. Don't you see the people of the temple running around like headless flies? He was definitely scared out of his wits by the little girl. After Auber executed this move, he swiftly darted to the back of the crowd and ran towards Duan Yu. At this time, Duan Yu also swiftly rushed over to her and lifted her petite body up with one hand. Mr. Jojo shook his little arms and legs and glared at him unhappily. Duan Yu hastily reached out to catch her and said anxiously, "It's too late. Summon the snow leopard. Let's leave quickly." Auber nodded and called out, "Little Snow." Chapter 31:16. The snow leopard suddenly jumped out of the peach blossom and intimately rubbed its large head against Auber's body. At this time, Qi Xianxian and the others had already summoned their spirit beasts after receiving Duan Yu's notice and were scurrying toward the narrow passage. Boulders were tumbling down from the mountain walls on both sides, so they couldn't care about not being able to ride spirit beasts anymore. This situation couldn't get any worse, so what else could they do other than ride spirit beasts? The entire valley was shaking, and the mountain walls on both sides looked like they were about to collapse completely. It was clear that it would be better to quickly ride spirit beasts and flee for their lives. Duan Yu tossed Sir Jojo onto the snow leopard, and Duan Yu followed suit. He supported Sir Jojo with one hand and set up a defensive boundary on the 2 of them with the other. Without needing the 2 of them to say anything, that snow leopard had already spread its 4 hooves and shot out with a whoosh. It scuttled in front of several spirit beasts at lightning speed and dashed toward the narrow passage. At the same time, the flustered and exasperated Ghostface Hallmaster had already scuttled to the last undamaged spirit stone cannon with a whoosh and retreated while protecting the 2 cannoneers. Emolien's palm wind had already swept over, and a terrifying force mixed with surging flames instantly swept toward the Ghostface Hallmaster. With a sizzle, it burned his outer robes to nothing. "Move aside. A shout abruptly came from behind the Ghostface Hall Master. An elderly man with white hair and a ruddy complexion abruptly appeared behind the Ghostface Hall Master. His long beard danced in front of his chest, and his gaze was so sharp that it seemed like he could nail Emolienne to death from a distance. Emolienne smiled coldly at him, and her aura instantly soared. Layers of ink-colored lotus flowers spread out under her feet, forming a black ocean. "How about leaving all of them here for us?" As soon as she finished speaking, the entire field of ink-colored lotus flowers rose up, exploding into black shadows in the air. The air in this area was cut apart, and the entire space formed an inverted wind gap. A hole was torn open, and a gloomy cold wind came out from the void. The old man's shadow trembled slightly, and his entire body floated up in an inconceivable way. His white hair and eyebrows danced on his face, and his pupils had already shrunk to the size of a needle tip. Void. Void power. Boom. The entire valley instantly cracked open. It was as if a powerful earthquake had occurred, and the entire valley was destroyed by the power of the void, leaving nothing behind. The mountain walls on both sides of the river poured down in torrents, as if they were being destroyed by a mountain torrent. Looking from afar, they could only see smoke rising from the valley. Gravel was flying everywhere, and dust was rolling all the way towards them. Jojo's ran. Jojo hurriedly turned his head to look, but his eyes widened in shock. The entire valley was destroyed. Jojo's lotus. "Don't worry, Jojo. You forgot that Ran can tear open the void. He will definitely be fine. He will come over." Abba thought about it, and his heart was slightly relieved. However, he heard the sound of a cannon behind him. Boom! Abba looked back again, and saw that the student of Lanyang Academy who was driven away by Holy Sun Mi-Yen was instantly blown to pieces by the Spirit Stone cannon. Before he died, he looked at Jojo's expression, and he was still very shocked. He probably did not expect that he would not even be able to reach the secret realm. Chapter 31:17. Xiao Mu looked at him without any ripples in her heart. This was also the path that this person had chosen. If he had left peacefully when Mayan chased him away and stopped following them secretly, he would have been able to keep his life. Now, there was no turning back. Therefore, every choice that a person made at every stage of their life would affect their future. As for life and death, it was really hard to say. "They're coming," Abba said in a low voice. He waved his hand and hundreds of explosion talismans flew out. He threw them over. Bam bam bam. Bam bam bam. The entire valley was singing joyfully, making one last struggle before destruction. After the destruction of the Red River Canyon this time, it would probably no longer exist. How could they still care about whether or not they were injured by the rocks? Their eyes were red from running. They punched the rocks flying at them. When they saw vines obstructing their escape, they immediately used their swords and sabers to slash at them. Sometimes, they even slashed at their companions by mistake. At this time, no one made a sound. In the midst of the chaos, Abba saw that the hall master with the silver ghost mask was sitting on a yellow-spotted mountain tiger, chasing them at high speed. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal suddenly emerged from Paradise Planet. With a point of his finger, dozens of vines nearby rolled up like waves, wrapping around the ghost mask hall master and the others. A few spirit beasts were hooked by the wavy vines and fell heavily to the ground. Layer after layer of vines chased after them like waves, forcing the Ghost Mask Hall Master and the others to stop with gloomy expressions. Ghost Mask waved his hand. Immediately, someone carried the last Spirit Stone cannon forward and fired at the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal. "Rotten Peach Blossom, come back quickly," Abba shouted anxiously. With a pull of his finger, he had Chochio throw out a vine to hook onto the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal's sleeve and pull him back. There was a loud boom. The snow leopard leaped up onto a rock at the side. Its 2 claws slipped on the rock. It used all its strength to jump onto another rock and land quickly on the ground. "Scoundrel!" A shout came from behind the Ghost Face Hall Master. The bearded old man's face, which was swollen like a bun, appeared in front of everyone. Duan Yu's expression darkened, and he instantly jumped off the snow leopard's back. He waved his hand and said, "Take Jojo away." The snow leopard hurriedly spread its 4 hooves and rushed forward. Mr. Jojo couldn't help but feel anxious and angry. He hit the snow leopard's head hard and said, "Who's your master? Go back. You old bastard." He even created a clone to chase after them. "Then you can die here together with that wisp of soul of yours." A somewhat glaring silvery white flame ignited in Duan Yu's hand, and it instantly transformed into a white phoenix. It let out a shrill cry in the air as it flapped its gigantic wings and charged towards the elderly man. At this moment, the old man was completely dumbfounded. He really didn't expect that as a peak immortal venerable, he could be considered as the old ancestor of the immortals in this world. Within a day, no, within 2 hours, he actually encountered 2 extraordinarily talented juniors in a row. One of them was able to tear open the void with a sacred fire and instantly tear apart his soul. Not only that, but that scoundrel also viciously beat him up. Look at how badly the old man was beaten up. Chapter 31:18. That wisp of divine soul was crippled in that punk's hands, causing his grandfather to suffer greatly. Yet this fellow in front of him actually ignited the Devil Emperor's fire that had disappeared for 1,000 years and made the demonic fire take form in a matter of minutes. How could he, an old grandfather who had cultivated for several hundred years, endure this? Was the way of the world so demoralizing now? Was he unable to keep up with the times, or were these 2 youths not people of this era in the first place? The old grandfather gloomily scratched his ears and cheeks. He couldn't resist howling at the sky 3 times. Like a rainbow piercing the moon, the white phoenix violently pierced through that old man's body at lightning speed. This caused the old man to open his mouth in pain, and his entire face became distorted. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal quickly drew out his natal divine sword with a flick of his finger and stabbed him in the chest. The sword pierced through his chest again. This time, even if that old man's clone was a peak venerable immortal, it was completely finished. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal looked back meaningfully at Duan Yu. "Punk, you're at the Transcendent God Realm, right?" This punk pretended to be a Transcendent God Realm rabbit all day long to swindle people. Duan Yu's complexion was slightly pale, and he tossed him behind him. "Go to Jojo's." Then his figure flashed, evading a spirit stone cannon shot from the flustered and exasperated Ghostface Hall Master. Boom! Boom boom! Everyone was scared witless and hastily ran forward, probably using all the strength their parents gave them to drink milk. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal looked back. "Hurry over." Still concerned about the little ancestor, the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal quickly turned around and chased in the direction of Arbor. He hadn't run far when he saw the little snow leopard running towards him. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal quickly dashed forward and jumped onto the snow leopard, picking up that little ancestor. "Why did you come back? Hurry and turn back." That spirit stone cannon was no joke. Even he wasn't willing to clash head-on with that thing. "Where's Duan Yu?" "What could happen to Duan Yu?" "Don't worry, he'll catch up in a moment." "Little Snow, hurry and turn back," the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal ordered. The little snow leopard hurriedly turned around and sprinted away. Then, it turned around and ran away again. Arbor was so angry that his little face turned black. He punched the snow leopard's head again. "Why can't you tell who's your master? Don't think that just because Lord Chow Chow has become smaller, you can disobey Lord Chow Chow's orders. If you want to rebel, you have to consider whether or not you can take a beating from Lord Chow Chow." Little Snow felt a little bitter. It wanted to listen to its master. But if the venerable immortal gave it a cold stare, it couldn't take it. Arbor anxiously urged the snow leopard, "Hurry back and take a look." Duan Yu Before she could finish speaking, she saw Duan Yu's figure swiftly floating to her side. When he saw that they were still standing in place, he couldn't help but ask anxiously, Why aren't you leaving yet? Let's go. At this point, the valley had already cracked open. How could the earth withstand the pressure of so many spirit beasts? The valley's ground cracked open inch by inch, revealing the pitch-black crevice below. Everyone felt as if their hearts were about to jump out of their mouths. Almost all of them exhausted all of their abilities and ran for their lives there. Most importantly, it wasn't that the Ghostface Hallmaster was frightening them, but that if they fell into this crevice, they really would lose their lives at any moment. Run, everyone prayed inwardly. Chapter 31:19. I hope I'm fine. I hope I can successfully pass through this Red River Canyon this time. I won't return to this Red River Canyon in this lifetime. Oh, no, in the next lifetime. I won't come even if you invite me in the future. Everyone sensed that the entire canyon was sinking, and all the living beings in this area were frantically fleeing outwards. Sir Jojo saw Duan Yu turn around and throw a palm strike. Several dozen boulders were sucked into his palm and landed behind him with a loud boom. Bang! After a cannon blast, a deep pit appeared in the ground, and then everything tilted down. The fissure in the ground widened. After the ghastly Hallmaster and his men finished bombarding the boulders Duan Yu used to block the path, the fissure was already several dozen meters wide. It was a bit strenuous to jump over with just manpower. The ghastly Hallmaster looked up and saw that everyone had fled without a trace behind the fissure. The cry of a phoenix came from afar. Immediately after, the ghastly Hallmaster narrowed his eyes and looked up at the sky. ***, they were already out of the no-fly zone. They truly failed at the last hurdle. Not only did they fail to capture the little stoic alive, but they didn't even catch a strand of her hair. What was even more hateful was that those people actually fled without a single survivor. Hallmaster Gong. The ghastly Hallmaster raised his hand and stopped the person from speaking. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Prepare to withdraw the troops and return." There was no meaning in chasing after them now. Their side had lost Elder Tan's clone and a wisp of his soul. Even if he led more people over, they might not necessarily be able to catch up to the little stoic's fire phoenix. They failed at the last hurdle. They failed at the last hurdle. The ghastly Hallmaster resentfully clenched the jade messenger talisman in his hand and then crushed it into powder. "Return to receive your punishment," the ghastly Hallmaster shouted. After such a thing happened today, it was simply unjustifiable to shirk responsibility. It was his incompetence. He brought so many people, but in the end, let alone capturing the little stoic, they couldn't even subdue those cats and dogs. He simply wasted a lot of manpower and resources, and his losses weren't small either. The ghastly Hallmaster's eyes darkened, and he turned around to call for the drooping people to quickly leave. What awaited them was an extremely harsh punishment. Even the ghastly Hallmaster's heart couldn't help but tremble at the thought of that terrifying punishment. On the other side, when Xiao Mu and the others heard the Holy Sun say that they had already exited the no-fly zone, they quickly summoned the little fire phoenix and had it carry them towards the other end of the valley. Holy Sun Mi Yen also sat on the back of the fire phoenix and pointed the way for everyone. When we left just now, there were cracks everywhere. They shouldn't be able to catch up to us for a while. The main altar of our Sun Moon Temple is right in front of us. Let's rest after we enter the temple. Don't stay any longer. How long will it take? With the Fire Phoenix's speed, it should take 4 hours. No, it's too long. Arbor quickly shook his head. Is there any place nearby where we can heal people? Holy Sun Mayan was involuntarily taken aback. She didn't think that the little stoic was such a compassionate person who would deliberately stop and treat someone else's injuries. Speak quickly, the little stoic shouted, her tone somewhat anxious and uneasy. In the outskirts below, there's a row of hunters' houses on the hillside. They're usually empty, but when the hunters go hunting in the mountains at the beginning of spring, they'll... You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.